Hello, beautiful soul. Thank you for tuning in to Back to the Heart. If you are loving these conversations about healing, mindset, and manifesting transformation, make sure to follow the show right now so you never miss an episode. And while you're here, tap that star or heart and share this episode with someone who's ready to come back to their heart too. And if you want daily inspiration, behind the scenes moments, and a peek into my world, come hang out with me on Instagram at back the number two, the heart, the number two, love me. All right, take a deep breath, open your heart, and let's dive in. Welcome to today's episode of Back to the Heart. I'm your host, Amanda, and today I'm joined by our guest, Austin West, who is the founder of Entheos and a passionate advocate for authentic connection, conscious community, and personal transformation. And what I loved most about this conversation is that it is really about truth. The truth we avoid, the truth our bodies are trying to communicate, and the truth that has the power to change our lives when we are listening. We explore burnout, belonging, identity, community, and what it means to reconnect with yourself in a world that constantly pulls your attention outward. We also discuss intentional microdosing and plant medicine as tools that can help us see ourselves more clearly and to return to what matters most. If you've been feeling disconnected, stuck in old patterns, or craving a deeper connection with yourself and others, I think you'll find something meaningful in this conversation. Let's get back to the heart with Austin West.
I'm really well. I feel like I'm coming out of it's like I always try to find a better word than portal, but there's really not a better word than portal sometimes. Um, yeah, just the last month I've been feeling this like whisper of a struggle, but haven't been able to like touch it because my life is incredible. It's beautiful. I love everything I'm doing. And over the last few days, I'm like, oh, I'm burnt out. Like that's what I'm feeling, and I wasn't touching because I don't feel like I'm doing anything in life that isn't in alignment with what I want to do. But that doesn't mean I should say yes to everything at the same time. And yeah, I had that realization the other day and over the last 3 days, just like trusting my team more and seeing how my control of the vision is really the only thing preventing the vision from expanding. And so
Yeah.
delegating and trusting and saying no to in-person events, like for the first time in 7 years of Entheos, like, okay, I'm not going to be there. Okay, I don't need to be at this retreat. I don't need to man the booth at that
Yeah.
thing. Um, and even inside, like saying no to going to Trevor Hall this weekend and Parangi at Red Rocks, which is like the best venue in the country and two of my favorite
Right.
artists.
Yeah.
And it's like when I really sit with that, that's not the highest and best use of my time right now. So yeah, just in this place of like just bringing everything back into alignment so I can serve at the highest capacity. And I just feel the last few days I have life force again. So I'm doing really well. It's good to be here and yeah, excited for whatever's next in my life.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think that's such a practice because it's like, we were in at one point living in this life cycle of the hustle and just keep go and do all the time. And it's like, even when you can transition into the, okay, I'm in flow and I'm, doing things out of love and desire to do something, not out of obligation or requirement, those things still apply. Of even though it's not that you're doing something you don't want to do, like you said.
Hmm.
I mean, going to that show at Red Rocks would be fire, right? So, but it's still okay. And it's okay to change our mind, to say yes, because when you first hear that, of course you're going to say, yeah, of course I'm going to do that. But then to be able to say later, yes, and
Hmm.
this is where I need to focus on me right now. And it's so easy to get back into that loop and then have this feeling of burnout or overwhelm. And one of the clients I was working with recently, she was doing that. And she's a healing practitioner, and she's amazing at what she does. And she's just been going and learning another modality and another modality. And it's like, oh, this is cool. I want to learn this. Oh, I want to learn this. Because once you get into this like awakening and excitement energy of wanting to create and share with the world, you want to learn it all. But at some point, you've got to practice, and it's okay to say no. And I cautioned her, and I'm a big words person, so I will caution to you as well. And even just using the word burnout, like, and she got really in a cycle of saying, like, I'm burned out, I'm burnt out, and I'm like, how about like I was at that point, and now I'm recognizing, because when you just say the word burnout, the energy that you feel is, ugh, ugh, burnout's kind of gross. So I was like, what can we say? And we did a little brainstorming, and we're like, what if it's like this intentional pause? An intentional pause and reflection and grounded space sounds a lot better than burnout or overwhelm, because just those words I was writing this morning about overwhelm, and we get in that do all the time. And it's like, if you can stop and just be still, it sounds counterintuitive of if you've got all these things on the do list, but if you stop intentionally, all of a sudden that creates all this space for so much more. And you go through these portals. You're like, how did all this stuff just happen?
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Peter Crone's one of my biggest teachers, and so I'm with you on the power of words. And I think the most important thing for at least I will always only speak from my journey because my way is not the way. Is there's also an importance of the intentionality of truth. And so if I avoid that I was in burnout, then I'm avoiding the truth of where I was, which means next time it comes up, I'm not going to see it because I'm in a pattern of
True.
denying my truth.
So true.
And in truth is like I just, part of what I teach in this mind body soul framework with Entheos is most of us are living in this fog of distortion. It's like we're just not meeting the truth of our experience of life. And that alone would alleviate so much suffering. Because anything that I deny, I'm actually shoving into the shadows. And so that part of me is going to manifest in a shadowy way because it wants to be known.
Yeah.
Socrates nailed it 2,500 years ago. Like, we're just here to know thyself. Like, that's the entire fucking point of this existence.
Yeah.
And what I appreciate to kind of like meld our perspectives inside of this is like I can own that's where I was, but if I claim it as this is where I am, then I'm creating this self-perpetual
Yeah.
feedback loop of not being able to get out of it because the I am statement is identifying as the very thing I'm claiming lead to the suffering. And this is where it's like, so I was burnt out. The
Right.
realization of it gets me out of
Yes.
that. It's the same thing with any, let's call it a diagnosis. One of the things that I think is most corrupted about our medical system is like they want us to identify within a diagnosis. Well, what if instead of identifying it, we're just experiencing this? Because an experience is finite. There's a beginning and an end to it, right? There's a big difference between saying I have ADHD and I'm experiencing symptoms of ADHD. An
Or even just
experience,
I am. A lot of people even use it that I am this.
yeah, yeah,
I am
yeah,
my
exactly.
diagnosis.
And then you can't get out of that because you've just stated your belief system. And because the universe and God is unconditionally supportive, whatever we claim ourselves to be, I got you. I will continue to provide evidence to prove to yourself that you are that thing. Yeah.
That's that's so true. And actually, yesterday I just recorded a podcast episode with somebody who is a holistic health and metabolic coach, and she came from that world. She was an ER nurse for 15
Mm.
years, and she was like, I just kept seeing some of these people coming back in and in over the same thing, and just more medications over what was supposed to be helping. And we were intertwining of the piece that she does and helping them in changing their habits of what you're eating and exercise and lifestyle and stress and all those pieces. And we were talking about how like paired our work does, because me helping people focus on their mindset and the words that they're utilizing is so powerful, because when you go into that, or you're beating yourself up about whatever it is that you're experiencing. I mean, I've personally felt that myself with my own health issues of like, oh, I'm so sick. I'm so sick. And just that energy of saying that and feeling it, and when you're in pain, especially, it's like, oh, I'm in so much pain. I am in this. And it's like just feeling into that. It's like it's constantly what you're focusing on, that energy. That's what you're getting is more of that. So
Mm-hmm.
it's like my mom just had a knee replacement surgery, and I'm like, okay, let's just practice. Let's practice. Like, I am getting better, and like I'm in so much pain, and that was so hard. And I'm like, well, tomorrow's gonna be better. Tomorrow's gonna be easier. Like this is a process. It's like, what can we say in our energy space? Because God, universe, our body, well, God is within us. Our body is listening. So these spells that we're casting are incredibly powerful to go with it. So yes to all of that.
Mm-hmm. So tell me about your podcast.
The podcast is Back to the Heart.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just one of those things where I had been listening to some other podcasts before. Kathy Heller was part of my original inspiration. She started podcasts, having these great conversations, inspiring people, talking about their gifts, talking about, living life in abundance. And I was like, what does that even mean?
Mm-hmm.
And as my healing journey continued, I was like, this is what I want to share my experiences. I want to share my voice. I want to share the things that I've learned to help other people that are going through the same thing so they don't feel so alone. Because whenever I was hearing things that other people were saying that resonated for me, I was like, oh, it's not just me. I'm not the only one. So I was like, oh, I'm going to try this. And wow, it just opened up a whole different level of opening up that throat chakra, being seen, putting yourself out there. And like, well, what are people going to see? What are they going to say? And it is what it is. It's like the more you do it, the more you practice it, the more you just show up for yourself, you realize how much all that other piece just doesn't really matter that much anymore. But it's still, I get in front of this microphone and I'm like, but it's a practice every single time. And I get
Yeah.
into the editing part and then there's delays because I'm like, what am I saying? I'm rambling. I just said like so many times, or whatever it is. So it's a practice, but it's been so fun to have conversations with people that are sharing their gifts with the world, who are sharing and being vulnerable and sharing the tools and resources that have worked for them
Mm.
and the connections that I've made. I love connecting with people and hearing their stories and sharing their stories and giving people a platform, just a place to share and express what they've experienced.
Yeah. Beautiful. And that's I work with this really talented channeler who happens to also be my best friend and closest brother in this life at this point. And he talks about that's what we're moving through collectively, is that we are in the opening of the throat chakra. Because it's like we are moving as the collective out of the solar plexus, power over hierarchy-based structures, and really into the heart frequency. And every time we land in a new one, the work is opening up what follows. And so right now we're in that multi-hundred-year period of transition into living in the heart, which means we're activating the opening of what comes next, which is of the throat, which is so fascinating. It's like why we're going to decentralized models, of why so many podcasts are opening up, why social media is starting to be used as this thing of fluff where there wasn't a lot of value to people. Like, hey, here's my story. Like if it resonates, it resonates. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But in the reemergence of the artist through all of this, of like our creative life force, and just to mirror a perspective of something you're doing, which I think is available for all of us. Like this is the gift of AI that I don't think people fully see yet. This is going to force us back inside of like, how do I want to show up? When everything is stripped away from me, my job title, what I identified myself as, what is my ingenuity as a creative being of this life force that God wants to move through me to bring something into the world. And so the more people like you that were like, screw it. I'm going to confront my fear of being seen. I'm going to confront the part of me that judges the language I use and the editing, all these delays, because it's like it
Mm-hmm.
matters. Getting our voice out there matters. And so it's like, yeah, thank you for leading the charge in so many ways and just continuing to trust that internal dialogue. Like, yeah, I'm getting the ping. This week I'm starting my own thing too. It's gonna be less of a podcast. Um, Contemplation is my favorite thing in the world. It's yeah, it's I think it's a lot more accessible than meditation for a lot of people. And no one's really talking about it except for Richard Rudd. And he's actually the guy who opened my life up to contemplation a few years back when I really started getting into Gene Keys and I was listening to a podcast of his and he's like, I wrote this 110-page book that I think is 10 times more powerful than the Gene Keys. I'm like, what the fuck? What is this guy talking about? And it was The Art of Contemplation. And I read that book and I'm like, whoa, okay. And so now, my style of both teaching and like just what I enjoy to do is pick a word or a topic or a question, and then I just force myself to contemplate on that for 15 minutes. And it's like that directed attention with intention. And meditation is like the becoming nothing, becoming no one. It's the witnessing the observer of life compared to contemplation is understanding who I am in this life. And
Mm.
so there's a more animated context to this like self-exploration where I put the container is the word, is the question, is the topic, and then I allow my mind to ruminate and contemplate specifically on that, and then the noticing comes in of like, oh, why am I thinking about trees when the concept is like, what is God, whatever it might be, right? But it's
Yeah.
practicing actually working with that. So yeah, something it's going to be called Contemplations with Austin. It's going to be dropping soon. So it's, the likes of you and the others that I've listened to for so many years and how podcasts has influenced my life. It's like, wait a second, why don't I also step through my own fears and illusions of why I'm not doing this and step into this arena as well?
Yeah, I love
Hence the
that.
equipment.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And it's like getting it back into that curiosity. And it's like the conversation or the contemplation, you can call it whatever, if it's a conversation with yourself just out of contemplation, is that there's no specific expected outcome,
Mm.
right? It's the process itself. It is the curiosity in and of like, it's not necessarily that you have a problem that you're trying to solve, an answer that you're seeking. It's just getting curious and contemplating and asking more questions than it is necessarily finding an answer.
Mm. Yeah. The answer always
Yeah.
shifts. Yeah,
I
it's
think
in the
that's really
exploration.
fun. I think that's what that also does is gives people a whole nother opportunity for getting into that space of stillness and listening to that voice and that curiosity. And like you said, of even if like, okay, my intention is to think about, this topic, but then to just be in awareness of, oh, now I'm over here. That's not seemingly not related to the original, but how did I get over there and why? Which is a lot of conversation that happens to people whenever they are, connecting with plant medicines, as, both of us participate in part of our coaching and our assistance and our gifts sharing, because it does get you into a state of a little bit more freedom to have that curiosity, to open up that expansion. And for me, it allows me to see that, like you said, as an observer and get more clarity to like organize the thoughts than just on its own with all the chaos and noise, the disassociation, like you mentioned, that's there, or disconnection, not disassociation, disconnection that's there in our lives, to get back into just one place and just be there,
Hmm.
not doing for an end game. It's just being.
Aho.
Oh, I know. I wanted to talk about which one of your social media posts about the experience with your dad the last
Mm.
weekend,
Hmm.
and just the energy of people wanting to belong and having a space. And you know, for me, part of what I'm doing, and from all the things I've heard from so many people in your community, is that it's such a safe space for people to feel like they
Mm.
belong and to feel seen and heard, and to bring in different people that, you're not trying to be an expert on everything. You have different people who come in and talk about their specialties and the value that they're able to add, and different people. I know there's another guy, somebody mentioned Chris something
Yeah, he's
that
the
came in.
channeler I mentioned. Yeah.
He's the what?
He's the channeler I brought up a few minutes ago.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, I heard a lot of feedback about
Oh
him, and I was
yeah.
like, oh my God, this guy sounds amazing. Maybe I want to have him on the podcast. I want to have these conversations. And it's just like providing that space for people to realize that you are not alone.
Yeah.
There is a space for you, and there's a lot of amazing communities out there where you have an opportunity to be seen. And yeah, we've gotten away from all the in-person stuff, but at least to start with something that's virtual, it's okay to be virtual. And I have some amazing, amazing relationships and connections with people on a virtual level. And that's bringing this awareness and new practice to me to put into play whenever I am in an environment in person. Like you guys got to go to the event, and you see that energy is so different. So it's like if you're afraid to be yourself or to share these vulnerabilities of where you are in person with somebody yet, try something online. Like just do something. There's opportunities for us to connect and feel supported. So I don't know how I really wanted to connect that back to what you experienced, but I just think it's a beautiful share that you made, and like I want more people to hear it.
Yeah, and I mean, I got a lot of thoughts on this. There's been a lot of resistance for people to enter digital spaces, and I think it's less about it being a digital space and about communing on Zoom than it is about how that digital space is being architected. And a lot of digital spaces become about the individual that's creating it.
Mm,
So you get on these Zoom calls or these meetings, and it's one person talking for 1, 2, 3 hours. There's no engagement. And so it's like, if I'm an individual that's seeking belonging and purpose and authenticity and meaning and connection and friendship and community, and I get on the Zoom call that's claiming to be a community, but it's just witnessing one man or woman go on about their own visions and their own teachings and making it about them, no wonder these spaces aren't working. And to shout out my brother Joe Hawley, he's one of the individuals that I am building this ecosystem with, because anything I'm building with my men's work in the Coliseum, or with the microdoses and the plant medicine and everything we're doing over at Entheos, is the way I like to look at it is these entities, these beings that desire to be created, they are not of me, they're through me. And so I just got chosen by the divine to be the vessel that these things incarnate into the world through, but they're not mine. And the less that I can try to take ownership of anything that I am building, not from the perspective of needing to own what I'm building, then the
mm-hmm,
more it gets to flourish in the energy of everybody that has an involvement with building the very thing. And this is why I'm such a fan of like looking around at my community, like you're gifted, you're gifted, you're gifted, you got something to say, come in, teach, get yourself in front of the audience. It doesn't need to be mine. And so there's this swell of really beautiful things happening because we're hearing multiple voices, including the voices of the audience, including the voices in the community. And my brother Joe, he's worked with many indigenous communities in Mexico and Peru, spends a lot of time a year in Peru doing these rite of passage experiences where you're eating wachuma and hiking through the Andes Mountains for days and days on end, and just really beautiful ceremonial working with the indigenous that have been carrying these medicines and lineages for thousands of years. And he talks about the technology of the sacred circle, that when we're sitting in circle, there is no hierarchy. I
mm,
might be the man with the microphone for a majority of the time we're in circle, but I'm no different than you. Your value and what you bring to this community and your voice matters just as much as mine. And it's like when we meet in equals in that way, then we create the premise and the basis for belonging, which is what all humans are really looking for. That every voice matters, every expression matters, every truth matters. And one of the things that I do inside of both Entheos and the like, let me give an example. We have a men's group call tonight. And I've been part of a lot of and this isn't right or wrong. I just want to make that clear. This isn't com- coming from a place of judgment, which is where right or wrong is implemented, but it's coming from a place of like it just didn't resonate with what felt in my highest and best to meet myself in the highest and best. And a lot of other groups were in the way I recommended. I'd get on, and 30 minutes in, I'm losing interest. It's like I'm not here to drone on. I'm here to be seen and witnessed. Even if I don't know that, that's really why I'm showing up. I want to be seen
Yeah.
for where I am. I want to be seen in my struggles. I want to be held in my victories. I want to be able to share in this experience of life with people. And so what we do on our men's group calls is some days we have 16 guys show up, some days we have 40 guys show up to these calls. And we go into these breakout rooms of typically 6 to 10 people, and for 90 minutes, everybody shares an equal amount of time. And so each guy might get 8 minutes. Like, what's alive, bro? Like sharing your life, what's going on in your job and your relationship. What are you struggling with right now? What are your biggest victories? What is the thing that you're terrified of admitting and speaking in front of other men because you think it's going to confirm the story that you're not good enough? It's like, let's lay this stuff down in front of each other. Let's take radical ownership and responsibility for ourselves and our experience in the mirror of other men so we can become free of all that holds us back. And when we meet in equals in that way, there's no prompts, there's no exercises. We're here to just create brotherhood. And the whole purpose of the Colosseum is it's like scaling brotherhood and belonging for all men. The way we do that is by making men feel seen. And so all of us have a stage, all of us have something to speak. And then inside of that, you get to meet yourself, and then your gifts come online. And then you start walking a little bit more straight. And then you want to start leading. And this is what people I think are really missing is we're exiting the era of guruism, where it's about one person on stage. And we're really entering the back into the sacred circle technology of like we are all equals. No one is above anyone. And this is very mirrored in our astrological ages as well, right? Piscean was very much about centralization, hierarchical based models. This is why religion was set up the way it is. It mirrors the astrological movements that we go through. That there has to be a savior. There's one all of us need to bow to. My power is given away to something or someone outside of myself. The Aquarian age is about decentralization. There are no
Yeah.
hierarchy models anymore. Everybody's of equal value here. And even in the Entheos community, one of the things I do is I'm doing this cohort right now, microdosing in the mind, body, soul, and I essentially teach for 2 hours every Sunday, and then we go open dialogue for the second. I'm like I will stay on this call as long as people have questions, reflections, or comments. And a lot of these calls are going 4 hours because there's 2 hours of conversation.
Hmm.
People, and I'm inviting and asking, like, bring it. If I say something that triggered you, bring that to me. I don't want you to withhold that because your trigger is you showing yourself somewhere you're not free. It has nothing to do with me. And I can carry the responsibility of being the mirror for you in that case and learn from that. And so it's like when you bring me something that triggered you, when you bring me something you don't agree with, when you bring me your own experience and what I'm teaching, I also get to learn about myself in that. And it's about putting myself, this is what I believe leadership is in the new world is like, can I lead with such a radical level of, to quote my brother Tyler, authenticity? Like putting myself on full display and being seen in all my parts, all the stuff I don't want to be seen in, so that those that choose to be in the ecosystem can call me forward in that reflection. Hey, that doesn't actually feel in integrity with how you say you want to lead. And it's like, wow, thank you for that. Like, this is what I believe people are missing inside of community and why a lot of online spaces hasn't worked and why these online spaces are flourishing. It's because everybody's voice is equal. There is no single individual. It's like we are building this community. I am not building anything. I
Yeah.
cannot do it without everybody else here. And this is what's so exciting to me is this awkwardness that digital space has really been for the last 15 years as we've been trying to figure this out, like the um, grossness social media has become in a lot of ways. It's like I'm seeing a shift where a lot of people are going from social media to service media. Like this is a place that I can show up to be of service to those who choose to follow me, for those that choose to absorb my content, right? And so the shift from there, the shift into vulnerability and authenticity, the shift into expression and allowing ourselves to be seen in our gifts, the whole digital ecosystem seems to be changing, in my opinion, for the better in many ways.
Yeah, it's so reflective because last night I hosted an integration, an expansion call post Breathe with Cannabis ceremony that we had on Sunday. And just coincidentally, it happened to just be all women last night. And, just in the similar fashion of you talking about the men having their safe space, I was like on the other side of that last night with these women, and just how, the women have these same feelings of this unworthiness and this sister wound and witch wound, which was another podcast episode I had last week, of just all of this energy that we're still carrying, these traumas from our ancestors, of feeling like we can't be seen, we can't speak our truth, we can't support each other, because if I'm associated with you, then I might get in trouble. Or if, you look bad, then I'm going to look bad. Or, we're pushing each other to get up higher or whatever. But again, with this age of Aquarius, like you said, it felt so beautiful in that space last night that, I was quote unquote leading the call, but I'm not any guru of any sort, right? I was there as I get to have the microphone to set it up and organize, because that is my gift. That's part of my gift to share. Is I love connecting people. I love bringing people into the space and helping them share their gifts with each other. And, one person in the group last night, was doing breath work. Another one is doing sound bowls. Another one is doing, whatever. Everybody's different gift. And it's like, this is an opportunity. And that's exactly what I said to them. I was like, let's get this on the calendar, that within this community, you have an opportunity to share your gift, to practice being seen and being heard in a safe space, and just being, right? And just that practicing being vulnerable with each other. And that was so fun. And it was so fun to just be able to recognize that I don't have, me being on the microphone and leading the group doesn't mean that I have all the answers, nor do I want to know all the answers, quite honestly. It's that I can be the person who does have the microphone, who does lead the group, to bring people into a space so they can create the community as everybody together. One person is no community. So it's nice that there is a place for people to have a small, more intimate, it's have that type of engagement. And that's exactly what we did last night. It was conversations of what came up during the ceremony on Sunday, or what are some things that are coming up for you this week that we can work on together and experience. And, I see in so much of this work that I do, people have a hesitation, and even myself, right? And in my own rights, to feel like, I don't want to share that because this is too big, or this is too small, or this is too ridiculous, or this is doesn't fit, or whatever. And 9 times out of 10, there's somebody in that space, in that room, hearing my voice, that felt like, damn, is she telling my story? Because I feel like that whenever I hear other people's, just like you said, it's like they're sharing something that gives you the opportunity to recognize, where does this fit in my world? And that's why this learning together, and I love the group so much, is, I do one-on-one work with people as well, which is always awesome. And I love these groups because it's just so easy to learn from each other.
Hmm. Yeah, we only know ourselves in the face of another.
Yeah. And particularly about, this also raises the question about plant medicines too. And, with what you're doing with the mushrooms, and me with the cannabis and all the different medicines that are out there, I think so many times people get into the spiritual realm and they start talking about, do all this medicine, do of the medicine. And then it's not just about the doing of the medicine, it's that integration, and it's the embodiment of what came up during the connection with the medicine. How is this medicine supplementing or helping you along your day to day? Because it's great if that week at that event, or that retreat or whatever, everything was, sunshine and rainbows. But you go back to the real world, and the doubts and the unworthiness and all of the energies and the distortions and the noise comes back. So, how can we best utilize the medicines, the tools, and the resources to fully integrate and embody what it opened up and allowed us to see.
Is that the open question?
Yeah, that's the open question.
I There's just been so much noise in the medicine space that has created a lot of catalytic conflict, even within the communities, outward, how people look at it. I think a lot of the individual experience has muddied the waters of what I believe these medicines are here for. And if I can synthesize all of my experiences with 5-MeO, with Bufo, with ayahuasca, with Wachuma, with mushrooms, with um, a lot, many of these medicines that I've had the honor and pleasure and privilege, absolutely privileged to sit with over the last 8 years. Um, and working with communities in Mexico and Peru and Costa Rica, it's like I got lost in all of it as well. And there's so many different, like you look at ayahuasca alone, there's 5 different vines that are used. Each culture does it their different way. Shipibo or like get cannabis out of the fucking field. No cannabis 6 weeks before, no cannabis 6 weeks after. Like they cannot stand the merging of the energy of ayahuasca with the energy of cannabis because the Shipibo are surgeons, right? I went through this cancer scare. Ayahuasca showed me I had cancer the first time I sit with her in my right lung, and it was due to the grief that I hadn't processed from a sexual trauma from a church member at 12 and my dad leaving at 14. And so that was its whole journey. And what the people were saying is like when cannabis is in your field, we have to fight that energy to get to what we're actually here to do, right? And so we spend the first of 3 or 4 ceremonies just trying to clear that energy from your field so we can perform these energetic and frequency surgeries on you. And then you have like the Hunikuin that they smoke cannabis on ayahuasca. And it's fascinating, right? So it's like that is a deeply woven part of their heritage and how they serve this. And they don't see that these are antithetical medicines in any way. And so it's fascinating, even the indigenous side, that there's so much confusion about the way that not confusion, I don't think that's the right word, but just the integrity and intention in how these things are used. And so when I take that into the Western world, where these things are coming very, very quickly, it's like, how can we distill this down into something that's simplified? In my opinion, these are medicines of truth. Full stop. Like they're here to expose ourselves to ourselves, to expose the shadows we avoid, to expose the version of us that we're actually living in and the version of us that we know we're capable of being on the other side of all the ways that we like to create these self-limitations. It exposes our belief systems, it clears the fog of distortion and helps us really understand what it is that we truly desire in this life. And in the face of meeting that thing that we desire, most people fear it. Yeah, quit your job, start this, do that, leave the relationship, go, no, I can't do that. And they go back into the fear state. And so if we look at
Mhm.
everything we experience, whether on a microdose and a full journey, it's like I'm just meeting the truth of my experience. Because these medicines, they don't carry their own beliefs and which then create stories, which then create our entire perspective and perception of the entire life. They just are. Right? We are communing with a high frequency consciousness anytime we put some of these into our bodies. And if my baseline consciousness is here and I do ayahuasca or something and I increase my consciousness up to this level because I'm communing with a high frequency consciousness that's a teacher, I'm also going to bring up all the shit in the shadows to an equal level of what that consciousness increase does. And then the work is, am I willing to be and look at that truth that I've been running from in many ways? And so even on a microdose, it's like the reason I think microdosing is so powerful is it might only be a 5-degree shift in consciousness, but that 5-degree shift is showing me what's just underneath the surface that I know I'm avoiding. The awareness that I know is there of my actions, behaviors, patterns, and beliefs that I'm not wanting to look at, of the emotions that I'm avoiding, the grief, the rage, the anger, the frustration, or the sadness, the grief. And on the flip side, the stuff that, because of my limiting beliefs, I don't let myself feel the pleasure, the joy, the bliss, the ecstasy that's available to us in this life as well. And so microdosing, it's like if we think about it from a frequency standpoint, it's bringing just what's underneath the surface for us to see, the truth of what's there that we have denied through these distraction or through these survival mechanisms of the mind, body, soul. The way that the mind survives in its own suffering is distraction. I mean, how rampant is distraction these days, right? The way that the body survives through its own suffering is numbness. That's essentially what pharmaceuticals do. We're numbing the symptoms, which are spiritual signals pointing us to why and where we're disconnected. And then the soul, which I believe is the heart, the survival mechanism of a disconnected, of a suffering heart, is meaning or suppression. We suppress the parts of us we don't want to feel. We suppress our authenticity. We suppress our purpose because of the fear that comes with it. And so it's like all of that can be boiled down. It's like all of and these medicines have archetypes to them too. I believe mushrooms are the ultimate connector, connected to self, to nature, to each other. I believe MDMA is the ultimate feeler, LSD is the seer, ayahuasca is the healer, Wachuma is the grounder, that father archetype, the mountain, perspective, embodiment, integration. All of them also have a very unique thing that they're going to bring to our lives. And so, if we go into any of these experiences with one thing in mind, what truth am I being shown? It changes everything about how we receive the experience because there's so much noise inside of it. And if we can find our truth, and if we can live, feel, and honor that truth, right? The mind, body, soul, I do my best to plug everything back in the framework. It's like suffering of the mind is unspoken truth, suffering of the body is unfelt truth, suffering of the heart is unlived truth. And so when we go to these medicines and we gain this truth, we gain this teaching about ourselves in every moment and how we're showing up on life, and then we integrate that truth into our life through the mind, body, soul, you can't go wrong. Because the beautiful thing about truth is it's the frequency of alignment. And so all I need to do is speak, live, and feel my truth. And anything that is not meant for me will burn itself away. I don't need to make those decisions because truth is the thing that's going to bring me to where I'm meant to go. And so that is now how I teach these medicines. It's like, let's simplify, let's dumb this down. What is the thing it showed you that you know you've been in avoidance of? That is your truth. And if we can integrate that, we can never go wrong. You're going to find your purpose. You're going to find your partner. You're going to find where you're meant to live. You're going to find all the things that most of us are seeking at some point in this life. And from that place, once you actually touch it and feel it, then it just reinvigorates that, like, oh, that truth is actually a more powerful frequency than fear. And then it's just finding the thing that scares you and doing it anyway. And we repeat this for as long as we're on this earth until infinitum.
Yeah, it's this game of remembering and forgetting. And if the medicines in a microdose, on a regular basis or wherever it is needed, you can utilize those for that remembering to quiet all of the noise, to quiet all of the distraction that's there. So how would you describe it to somebody who like doesn't know anything about microdosing mushrooms? Like, you alluded to a lot of that in what you were saying, but because I'm aware of that process and have knowledge about it, it made sense. But for somebody who maybe doesn't know much about mushrooms and is this legal? Is this safe? What is this actually going to do to me? And why would I even want to do that? Like, what's your feedback for somebody to just give an overview of what that looks like and how it could help them in their journey?
Yeah. So I'll start with the legal side because this is where most people get caught up. Everything that we are doing at Entheos is fully lawful. And there's a big distinction between lawful and legal. Lawful, I can invoke my constitutional rights. And so we are a sanctuary. And by being a sanctuary, I'm invoking my First Amendment constitutional right to practice spirituality the way I see fit. I did not know God until I met the mushrooms. And I met God for my first time in a 5.5 gram mushroom ceremony. And and this is after 22 years of growing up in the church, twice a week, 5 youth camps a year, like deeply steeped in that world of religion where God was a theory. It was never experienced and actualized in the way that these psychedelic medicines have brought to my life. So we are a registered sanctuary, which means that anybody that comes in our ecosystem, you agree to be a member of our congregation and you invoke your spiritual belief to practice in the way you see fit as well. Which kind of leads to my next point is I believe that, there's so much, and this is where I think it gets a little lost on people, is there's so much scientific talk about these medicines. But me telling you that it's increasing your serotonin in the brain and regulating dopamine, and it's creating neuroplasticity and neurogenesis, and it's regulating your glutamate and GABA, which is going to help with your excitatory and your calming neurons, which is going to help your energy levels throughout the day, as well as your sleep cycles and how that affects REM and your brain-derived neurotropic factor. That doesn't mean shit to anybody. It's like, okay, what is this doing for me? Well, like I said, it's neuroplastic. Yeah, what is this? And I feel like this is where that big disconnect is. And I even talked about it that way my first 5 years of really building this mission. And I had to come to the realization that that was my truth. My truth is that I believe microdosing is a deeply spiritual practice and is a spiritual practice of reconnecting to the self through the mind, the body, and the soul. And I believe that all sickness and suffering is rooted in disconnection from self. And that the things that we have demonized as symptoms are just signals sent by spirit, whatever divine ordination you believe in. I don't give a shit what word you use. I think we use 30 words to describe the same thing that we feel that words lack. I'm a really big fan of the Gnostics or Taoism, where it's like they are, I believe in the all. I'll never be able to define it. My belief ends there. I know it exists, and my mind is too small to ever put that thing into words. That is my belief too. I know undeniably there's an everything and all and infinite consciousness that exists, and my mind will never be able to articulate that. And so, whatever that connection to something greater than you is, when we become disconnected from that divine beingness inside, sickness and suffering arises as beautiful, benevolent signals to bring us back home to the self. And that self is the framework of mind, body, soul. And so when we microdose in the reconnection of the mind, body, soul, when I say mind, I mean awareness. Awareness of our thoughts, our actions, our behaviors, our choices, the words we use, right? The inner dialogue I'm having that is literally creating the fundamental foundation of how I see myself in this life, which is then going to be reflected back to me. When we're disconnected from that awareness, we're literally living life blind. And so when we microdose and the subtleties of that reconnection and the quieting of the mental rumination and the presencing that comes with it, I'm able to notice these parts of myself. Like, wow, I didn't realize I talked to myself that way. I didn't realize I was still engaging in these patterns that I know are not my highest and best. You still have to make the choice from there, right? The mushrooms aren't going to do the work, nor are they showing you anything that's not there. And so something a lot of people say is, I microdosed and it made me feel, no, 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 no. It's reflecting to you the truth of what you're
Yes.
feeling that you've avoided. And
Yeah.
that's a big distinction. So that's the mind. And then the body is our emotions. It's the emotions that we avoid, both good and bad. We avoid our grief as much as we avoid our joy because of whatever programming that we live in and how society is set up and keeping us in these survival mechanisms. And I'm a big fan of Gabor Mate's work that he believes, and he's been on this hill for 25 years, and bless him for that work, that all physical sickness is trapped emotion in the body. I 100% agree. I'm living proof of that. That I did not once step into the Western medical world when I realized I had cancer in my right lung. I committed myself fully to this path, and after years and years of grief, I am clear. Of processing grief, I am clear. And that weaves in Chinese medicine. Grief is stored in the lungs. Of course, I had
Yeah.
cancer in my right lung. I wasn't processing that grief. And so the body represents our emotional self, the emotional centers, and because of the state of beingness that we are in the world, where it's constant distraction and movement and working and survival, we've lost connection to those emotions. So microdosing helps us be represented with what's actually being held within us. That is the body, and then the soul is the heart. And the heart holds our meaning. It holds our purpose in life. It is where authenticity is emanated from, which is the highest frequency we can measure. And so when we're disconnected from a heart, we're disconnected from the soul blueprint that I am meant to walk in this life. Right? I believe that we live in a paradoxical universe, that when we find paradox, we find freedom. The universe is both divine will and free will. My path has been laid and I get to choose how to walk it. And so knowing that my blueprint, there is a source code inside of me that knows how I am meant to be of service to the world. It doesn't need to be discovered, it needs to be remembered. And so when we're disconnected from the heart, we're living our life for the sake of other people and not for the sake of what is in the highest and best of self, which ends up ironically and paradoxically being of service to the world. And so through the practice of microdosing, we get to reconnect to the mind, body, soul and remember these parts of us that were lost. And in that, something miraculous happens. We start to heal. We start to change our relationship from symptoms and actually having gratitude every time I have something go wrong, every time I get sick, right? These are beautiful signals being delivered by spirit saying, hey, look at this. And I don't know if you know much of Zach Bush's work. I'm sure you do in this space, but Zach Bush was a cancer researcher 20 years. And after all that research and everything he does now, he's like, cancer is the most benevolent thing the body can produce because it's telling you exactly with the most precision the part of you you're disconnected from most. And it's like, whoa. And then we can weave in different areas of study like Chinese and Ayurvedic medicinal knowledge that talk about the energy centers and the chakras and what the body is speaking and how. And is it left or right? Is it masculine or feminine? Is it forward or back? Is it fear-based
Yeah.
future? Is it a past-based thing that hasn't been healed from? And is it in my liver, right? Is it anger being stored in my liver? Is it grief in my lungs? Is it fear in the kidneys? It's like the body is speaking a language that we just forgot how to listen to. And so when we change our relationship to sickness and suffering, all of a sudden we find the parts of us that we're just looking for love most. And I think microdosing is such a beautiful way of finding that reconnection to self in all of these because it's so subtle. Not everybody's ready for 5 grams. Not everybody's ready for ayahuasca. 95% of people should probably not do bufo. And there's
Right.
potency in these medicines when used well, especially cannabis. It's my favorite plant on this world. I love that plant, and it's been a big teacher of boundaries for me, right? Like really learning the intentional use of something that has both been a numbing mechanism and both been healing for me. And the thing about microdosing and the word that I receive most often from people that do it for the first time is like, wow, that was such a subtle experience. It's not meant to be this out of body. It's not meant to be this out of mind. It's not meant to be hallucinatory at all. It's meant to just bring us into a state of being and presencing that we get to notice what's already happening in our life. That's it. So much of this work is, can I notice what's already here? Can I stop running and start telling myself the truth of what I know is alive? I get the whispers. I hear the guidance. I'm just afraid of following it. I feel my body tense up and speaking to me. The gift of a reconnected body is intuition. I feel when my body's telling me something, but because I've demonized symptoms and I've been taught to not trust it, I'm actually inherently not trusting of self. And so when we microdose and we bring the mind down, we calm the mental rumination, we reconnect to the heart, which is where that truth is emanating from. We start listening and relating to the body differently. The body represents our inner child. So the way I relate to my body, the way I feel is just me learning how to hold that inner child. That's what nervous system regulation is. All this somatic work doesn't mean anything if we don't work on the mind body soul component of it as well. And this is why I've been called to serve the mushroom specifically. It's like it was the thing that woke me up in 2018, and it's the thing that 8 years into this practice continues to teach me more than anything.
Yeah, I love that so much. And, for me, practicing with the cannabis, it's I utilize it in ceremony for a different amount, but then on a micro dosing level in client sessions and coaching and going through the story work and connecting that mind and body, because so many times I'm working with clients and they've got this story. This is whole connecting with the mind and the body with alternative medicines here is that the story is going so fast in their mind, but whenever they're able to connect with the medicine in a small amount, again, microdose, you're not going to be feeling high, just like you're not, taking a microdose of mushroom and seeing, geometric shapes, whatever. It's like, this is just a small amount. You're not supposed to feel anything, quote unquote, like outside of yourself. This is just a connection again, like you said, back into your body to be able to have with intention where is that connection and be able to amplify what's already on the inside. And that's how I utilize it with myself and clients, is being able to microdose in a way that connects and allows you to do a free flow, small connection with cannabis or microdose with mushrooms, and having, yoga or any kind of free flow body movement and dance. It's just like it allows you to really feel into that space in a completely different way. It's not meant to take you on a a journey or take you to another place. It's getting you actually back into the present of this space. So when it's intentional and in a small amount like that, it's so powerful in helping keep that nervous system regulation that I've been able to see. And I love that there's different medicines for people to try. And I'm like, if whatever people out there and they're doing something and whatever they're doing doesn't feel like it's working, and you could have sat in 6 ayahuasca journeys, sat, it doesn't matter, whatever the process is, or zero, but whatever that you're trying and you're not seeing progress, why not explore something else and try something different? Oh, well, no, cannabis is not my thing. I can't do that. I'm never going to do that. Okay. Wanted to experience in something else. If you started going to, a rowing class and you weren't seeing any results, well, you'd stop going to the rowing class and maybe you'd try a karate class or whatever. It's like there's different things out there and they're not all exactly the same and they're not all going to affect everybody the same. And I think there's a lot of our ancestral history that probably plays a lot of part to that, of where our indigenous, our ancestors were and what they were experiencing. All both of these medicines have been around for thousands of years and are so abundant, and the receptors and how it affects our bodies. And if you go into all the scientific, the people that aren't going to believe don't even want to hear the scientific parts anyway, because it's too much. It's too rigid for them. So it is this heart space. And I just love that there's an opportunity for people to connect in a different way that, hey, I can't focus, whatever their energy is. I can't meditate. I can't do this. Well, have you considered trying another option? Because there are other options out there. And when you're connecting intentionally and you have a beautiful community where people are there to support you and the integration through it, it's just so magical. It's like once it gets started, then like more amazing connections keep happening and more things keep going in the right direction of the alignment that I'm looking for. I mean, that's how we connected.
Yeah, alignment is everything.
Yeah, for sure. Well, actually, when is the next cohort that you're doing with the
September 13th,
microdosing?
I'll be starting that one.
Okay. So then your men's group, that an ongoing all the time?
Yes, so we do three men's group calls a month, first 3 weeks, every Thursday. We're going to be switching to Tuesday in about 6 weeks or so. But yeah, it's a free men's group. So it's, we got 100 guys in the group total right now. We do a men's retreat every 3 months where we bring people out to my buddy Joe's land that was in that post, Haven, here in Austin, 72 acres, about an hour and a half outside of Austin. It's incredible. It's incredible. It's held a lot of medicine work. It's got a 12-acre spring-fed lake, retreat home, building a maloka, and a center out there, 50-acre wild forest, about a half acre of garden, growing their own food, like truly a sovereign state of being and living out there. And so we bring people out there to support. We do women's retreats, men's retreats, and co-ed retreats out there. And we got two retreats, a men's retreat and a women's retreat coming up in August out on that land as well. And so right now the men's group is we meet three times a month and we do a retreat every 3 months. And that's going to continue to grow as the community grows. But it's just a space, our whole mission inside of the men's work is scaling brotherhood and belonging for all men. It's like if you can't afford it, that's not going to be the obstacle. We have two scholarship spots at every retreat. It's like this isn't going to be something just with Entheos. Everything I do is donation based. I had 28 people. We have 86 people in this cohort. 28 people paid $1. And those that could afford it support those that can't. It's the same thing with the microdoses. People can go online and pay whatever aligns with them. And so it's also bringing in new world and new earth economics here. I think a lot of the reason that the world looks the way it does is because of greed. And this gets into a deeper conversation about my life's work gene key. My shadow is greed. And so, a lot of the reasons I make these decisions and make things so accessible is to confront that shadow. I trust in these systems. And so if I trust in these systems and it's telling me that my life's work is greed, then there's probably a really big gift on the other side of me integrating what that shadow is. And this is just I worked in finance for 12 years, BlackRock, JP Morgan, like in the belly of the beast. So it's like I look at my life path and I'm like, oh, of course. Like, how can this not be true for me? And so everything is about accessibility. And one of the surveys I saw last year is 59% of people didn't get the mental health care treatment they needed last year because they couldn't afford it. And so, how can we create regenerative systems where the community supports itself while also ensuring that access is made available for everybody? So, if there are men out there that don't have any friends, I'm blessed that there's 50 guys I can call right now that would hold space for me. I would say 85% of men don't have a single friend that they could call at any moment of the day to hold space for them. And we have this thing in the men's community where it's like, does anybody have 6 minutes? Or you drop that in our group chat every time within 10 minutes, somebody's like, let's get on the phone. And it's like, this is what my mission is bringing men and women back together, dissolving a lot of these stories that have created all this separatism from the power and potency of what it is to come back into union and creating spaces for men to come back together. Because for decades and centuries, we've been taught to compete. I need your woman. I need your resources. I need your title. I need your money. I need your title or your company. All we've been taught to actually resist the very thing that is innate to the human experience, which is connection, which is belonging, which is brotherhood, which is divine union. And that is my goal between these communities is creating spaces where finances is not the obstacle, and you better show up and do the work because that's what we're here for.
Oh, I love that so much. I'm gonna suggest my husband get into your men's group for sure. And maybe both
Yeah,
of us will do your the September microdosing
epic.
cohort because I've expanded all of my knowledge on the cannabis side and going through the program with Ryan. And I want to be able to help the people that I'm helping with whatever tools are available, what makes sense for them. And, cannabis isn't always the one that works for people, and I get that. It's worked for me and I find it useful. And, I've experienced, had some experiences with mushrooms, and there's a whole different, like you said, a different way that it's integrated and different rituals, etc. So I'm excited to learn more and to be part of that. And what I'm doing, I'm bringing together, like I had last night, all these women, and am actually about to start another community that's going to be for couples, conscious couples that are already in a place where they are understanding what their patterns are, right? They're understanding where their wounds and their healing is and wants to be, but they still come up against some of the same stories, some of the same arguments. And it's not necessarily about the dishes or whatever it is. What are these stories and how can we integrate with these natural supplements, divinely given supplements that can help us expand in this awareness to co-regulate, especially in relationship, to be able to move forward as our amplified partnership. I mean, it's amplified with us men supporting men and women supporting women, and then even that divine connection of the masculine and the feminine in these relationships. And I think that's fallen away from so many people because even in relationship there's that competition of you're doing, I'm doing, and we got in this 50-50. Well, nothing in a relationship, who wants 50%? You want 100%. Like, we're going all in on ourselves and all in on each other. So I would love to incorporate that into what I'm offering to people. And, I don't know if there's an area for me to come into the community and talk about story work and add that. I would love to do that and just share that piece. I don't even know if you have anybody that does anything like that side of things, but are you familiar? Do you know Mark England? I know everybody's
Hmm.
all like connected to all this, but I went through his enlifted certification, level 1, level
Mm.
2, and it was so powerful for me in my transformation because I'd experienced and sat with a lot of those, the deeper plant medicines, with 5-MeO and, 5 grams of mushrooms and ayahuasca and, cannabis. More before that was more like numbing and not intentional. But in all that before, for me, it was getting into these stories of the stuff that I uncovered during those medicine journeys, those deep medicine journeys, and then not knowing what to do with it, and then not knowing how that story was continuing to repeat. And I had awareness of it because of the journey or because of the work that I'd done, but I didn't know what to do with it. And I was still talking to myself and the story that was inside of me that made such a big change to allow that somatic release of the story through the breath, through the story, and to rewrite it and to transform the language that I was using with mind, body, and spirit, like all of those things, because I had endometriosis, and that was a whole experience for me, and not realizing how much environmental factors, food, exercise, etc., but all the traumas, like you mentioned, it was a direct connection to the feminine trauma that's in my ancestry and in my own personal journey connected to all of my reproductive organs. And now that I was able to get those stories out, like you said, and process it and take care and listen to my body, now like that awareness within myself is just so much more powerful. How can I support you?
I mean, this is a great way, just getting the message out. I think going through the next cohort, I think will be pretty revolutionary. I'm teaching a lot of aspects that a lot of people haven't heard. It goes deep. It's like the mind also represents the masculine. The mind also
Mm-hmm.
represents the father archetype in a relationship with the parents. The heart is the feminine. The body is the inner child. And so I'm weaving in all of these different systems into this mind, body, soul framework, and then leveraging the power of this truth medicine for people to have these really, really profound accelerated transformations. And this is kind of where I see the medicine space headed, is there's not a lot of frameworks around these things about how to understand what these experiences are bringing us. And so I just feel blessed that this teaching has come through me, and the more I teach, the more it comes through, and I'm witnessing in real time a lot of times what's happening on these things. And because I'll bring up a slide and just kind of riff for 10 minutes, and something will come through. I'm like, whoa, I've never said that before. That's cool and new. So it's really giving people an anchor of understanding the entirety of the human experience, like why we're here, what we're experiencing. And I think that framework is really giving people a foundation that they can start to walk on top of when they open up themselves to these medicines. Because we don't always relate to a lot of the old ways. The indigenous have carried these medicines for thousands of years, but it doesn't resonate with a lot of the Western world. And so I think it would just be, being involved in the cohort, bringing your knowledge in. Because one of my favorite things is we have this group chat. Yeah, everybody is in this group chat. We created a community, so there's a practices, prayers, and prompts that I'll drop in every day for all 8 weeks. I drop a new contemplation in, so I write 8 weeks worth of contemplation. So I give people contemplation prompt every day. There's a Q&A section, and then there's a group chat section. So it's really spread out, keeps it organized for people. And in the group chat, I mean, I'd say 30 of the 86 are active weekly. And so people are in there sharing their vulnerability, sharing their wisdom, sharing what they're moving through, sharing things that they're like, I would have gone to my grave with this, and allowing themselves to be seen in it. And then to your point, it's like 10 of the people like, oh my God, like one of the mothers in there came out last week. It was like, I've been ashamed to say this my entire time, but 6% of the time, I don't like being a mom. And she's like, now it's hard for me to carry, and it's just exhausting, and I feel alone. Blah, blah, blah. Puts all this stuff, and like 12 moms are like, I'm right there with you. And she's like, oh my God, I feel so free. And then
Yeah.
the next week, she's like, I've never loved my kids more in my life, because it's just about being seen and the truth of where we are. So we take the power away from that story. And so somebody like you that's done so much work, what I've noticed is when people like that come into the community that have done work and know their parts and can speak to them and aren't afraid of being vulnerable, it opens up everything for everyone else. So it'd be an honor to have you in the coming
Yeah.
cohort. And that's the support, is like I believe so deeply in frequency. So just us having this conversation today, regardless of who listens, is rippling out. Communing with the medicines, trying Entheos ripples out. Joining the cohort ripples out. And I trust that everything that happens from there is what was meant to happen in the first place.
Yeah, I love that. And, that's what I was talking to those women about last night too. It was, you know, we we're again back in the remembering and the forgetting, and 30% of what we hear, we remember. 50% of what we write down, remember, and 80% of what we teach, we remember. And speaking it even though may not feel like you're teaching it to like a group or whatever, you're speaking that truth to someone else. You're teaching that. You're speaking it out to existence to other people. So it's helping yourself, and then like that ripple effect to other people, because somebody out there is experiencing something similar. Everybody's got a story, and everybody thinks their story is so much bigger and so much more shameful, and whatever it is, that there's somebody out there that's feeling the same way. And you speaking up and sharing in that type of group not only frees yourself, but it frees somebody else to feel like they are supported and they're not alone.
I know a lot of people feel like they're alone in this journey. They're suffering in silence. They're afraid to be seen. They're afraid to quit their job. They're afraid to speak truth to their parents or their spouse. They're staying in situations that don't align with them. And it's less about having to make any of those decisions. And I think the first step is getting yourself in a community where you feel supported. And then those decisions feel easeful. And so, anyone out there that is struggling, you don't have to microdose to join a community. We had 640 people on our school community. We have between 6 and 8 calls every week with 15 to 30 people showing up for these calls and just talking about life. And for men out there that don't have brothers, that don't have a place where you can be seen, where you're not being supported, like men are supposed to support each other. And a lot of men, because we don't have that support with each other, we dump the stuff we're moving through on our women. That is not the place. Our women is not where we bring our stuff. You bring it to your brothers because you're meant to hold space for your woman. And so, if there are men out there that are struggling in relationship, that do not feel met, that do not feel seen, that are drowning in the need to achieve because you think that's going to bring you the thing that you actually don't have in life right now, come join the Brotherhood as well. These communities are free, and that's just my biggest invitation. And what I would leave is there's no point and no reason and no requirement to do this journey of life alone anymore. And if my communities don't resonate, I got a dozen I can send you to as well. But there's a space for you regardless of where it is.
I love that. Thank you so much. I will put the links. You send me the links to all of the communities, and I'll
Cool.
put all that
Yep.
in the show notes so people can find you on all the social media platforms and join the groups and website and all the goodies.
Amazing. Awesome. I appreciate your support, and it was great chatting with
Yeah.
you.
Thank you for listening to today's episode of Back to the Heart. If you are ready to awaken to a life filled with joy and purpose, subscribe now to Back to the Heart on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen. And remember, we are all one. So let's do this together and rediscover the essence of what inspires us all. Back to the Heart. If this conversation is lighting something up in you, if you are feeling that pull to go deeper, I want to invite you into my coaching space. Whether you are just starting to untangle old stories or you are ready to fully embody your next level, your quantum leap, I offer one-on-one sessions or a transformational 4-pack designed to help you shift fast and with real support. My coaching blends nervous system work, breath work, and story alchemy. So you're not just learning, you are living your breakthroughs. You can book a free 30-minute intro call to see if it's the right fit for you. Email me at back2loveme@gmail.com. That's backtothehearttoloveme@gmail.com, or find the link in the show notes below. Let's get you back to the heart, because that is where your power lives.